Wish We Could Turn Back Time by Girlinpink44. Chapter 1, Gotta Get Back in Time. And I am Iron Man. A snap. Then pain. Tony had expected the pain. Knew the moment he came up with this plan that it was the end for him. But he knew it was the only way to keep Thanos from doing further damage. It was the only way to save his kids. He fell to the ground, Rhodey helping prop him up. He wanted to thank his oldest friend, but the words wouldn't come. He was too far gone. It wouldn't be much longer now. Suddenly, the spiderling was there. His platypus was there. And, finally, Pepper. His wife. The mother of one of his children. Almost his whole family. Happy had luckily avoided the disaster that was the battlefield. Staying at the cabin, making sure Morgan was safe. And Harley. He had been snapped away too. Tony had checked once he had recovered from his weeks on the ship. Both of his sons were gone. But, in a way, they'd live on. Morgan grew up on the stories of her brothers. Some nights it was Spider-Man, other nights it was Peter, and still others it was Harley. As long as Tony lived, they lived on. And now they were there. Really, truly alive. Underoos was there now. Tony had only gotten a quick reunion with the kid he'd mourned for 5 years. But Peter would have plenty of years ahead of him now. Tony wished he could be there to see the day that this brilliant kid from Queens became the best of all of them. Or the day he met Harley. It had never quite worked out, schedule-wise. Plus there was the whole Tony denying his feelings thing. Pepper was there too, telling him he could rest, that they would be okay. Peter echoed it. Rhodey gave him a reassuring nod. Tony was so tired. His kids were alive and safe. He had done it. He had changed the universe to save his kids. His vision was fading, and so were the sounds of the battlefield. It was over. Tony Stark had earned his rest. It was hot. That was Tony's first observation. The second was that there was a weight on his chest that made it hard to breathe. Wait. He was breathing. Opening his eyes, he was met with a clear blue sky. There were minimal clouds and sand. A lot of sand. What the hell? Looking around, he was in the desert, and, if he wasn't mistaken, the remains of the first Iron Man suit lay in the sand around him. Protect us, Anthony. Protect your family. Stop the Titan. They will help you. A small chorus of voices sounded, and Tony looked around for the source. But there was none. What did it mean? Stop the Titan? He had stopped Thanos. Watched him disappear into nothing more than dust. It was the literal last thing he did. But if he was back here, it meant he was at the literal beginning. Thanos was out there. Loki, the 10 Rings, Killian, Vanko, Secretary Ross. Everything he had spent the last 15 years doing was gone. His family was gone. Pepper was his personal assistant this time. Sure, they had been flirting a bit before he went on this extended vacation, but they wouldn't get serious for another 6 months. A far cry from his wife of 5 years and the mother of his child. Harley and Peter were around. Neither were the boys he knew. And Morgan, his princess. For one thing that had probably managed to keep him alive long enough to save her brothers. She'd never be born. Why? Tony finally stood, eyes at the sky. Why did you send me here? I was done. He was gone. They were safe. He dropped to his knees, narrowly avoiding random pieces of his first attempt at his infamous suit. The cost. It was too high. The damage is too great. The universe was too badly fractured. You proved you were able to protect them and us. Save the universe before it cracks again. Tony paused. I can stop it? You can. Good luck, Anthony. The universe needs you to be their champion. For some reason, Tony knew he would not get an answer if he asked another question. Getting up, he looked around. Best he can remember from this, he had wandered east. So that's what he'll do now. And use the time he has in the desert to figure out what the hell he's going to do. Sleeping for a week honestly felt like a great idea. Between inventing time travel, the time heist, having to deal with the emotions related to Howard, getting Peter back, the final battle, dying, and suddenly ending up 16 years in the past, it would be a well-earned one. But first, he had to get home, and for the life of him, he couldn't remember how long he'd been here. It was a bit. He'd been sunburnt when Rhodey found him. So he wandered the desert. It gave him far too much time in his own thoughts. But finally, he heard the sound of a helicopter. And as it came into sight, still at a distance, but that didn't stop Tony from already waving his arms, grinning wider than he had in years. The bird got closer and closer, and started to land. Just like he had before, he fell to his knees in relief. The first person out was Rhodey, his honey bear, platypus, one of the very few people that put up with his bullshit for any length of time. Sure, Tony wasn't sure if it was a laugh or a sob that was stuck in his throat as he watched his best friend run across the desert towards him. There were no braces, no telltale wine that had destroyed Honey Bear's stealth mode. Rhodey was running towards him under his own power. In theory, Tony wanted to run to meet him, but he wasn't sure if his own legs worked at that moment. Whether it was the shock of landing back in this year, the possible case of heat stroke, or just seeing Rhodey run. Actually run! Whatever the case was, Tony was fairly certain he was completely incapable of movement at that moment. And then, there he was. Just like last time, his friend was quick to wrap him up in an embrace. Unlike last time, Tony wasn't sure if he wanted it to end. The whole idea of this bizarre situation being real was terrifying. Having his best friend by his side, like always, soothed the metaphorical ache. It made the literal ache in his chest seem less extreme, if only for a moment. How was the fun V? His friend choked out. His eyes were tearier than Tony remembers them being. Next time, you ride with me, okay? Tony nodded. His friend pulled away slightly, then seemed to look Tony over. Tones, how are we here? End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed this one. Now, can I just say, this is one of my favourite time travel fix-it fix. I absolutely love this. I have been wanting to do this for over half a year now, and as before with my favourites, I wanted to get in some practice. Again, I'm sorry for the Peter factor not updating in a while. I can't control that. But you guys, I can tell, are going to love this. If you like the content I've done so far, to me, this is on par with the Peter factor. This is the level of regard I have for this fic and its sequel, and apparently there are others coming as well. They finally finished the second story, but here we go. And you guys, it's really heartwarming, and I really hope you enjoy it. So anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified for whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.